Hello, this is Mator, the creator of the Ghost Froom, and this is part 5 of my explanation for the Ghost Froom. This part deals with the PPR launch and other Frooms on other maps. So, the PPR launch. This launch is the final step in the Ghost Froom. Essentially, it's just a launch involving an explosive combination, and I'm hoping to make clear to you how it works and all the difficulties associated with it. So, in the last video, we left off with a Ghost Froom. So, you have a ghost floating in the sky. What's the next logical step? You get on top of it, of course. So, we can't really use a vehicle launch because we can't get vehicles on top of the cliff, and the side of the ghost that is outside of the cliff area, it's very small and you can't really stand on it. So, we can't really launch on top of the ghost from outside. So we have to launch on top of it from inside the barrier, inside on the cliff. So we can't use vehicles, and we can't stand on the outside, and we need to be really precise. Well, there just so happens to be a perfect tool for the job, a team PPR launch. Now, PPR. PPR stands for Plasma Rocket. So that's 3 explosives: plasma grenade, rocket. It's a launch technique primarily used on players, sometimes used on vehicles, mainly players. What it essentially involves is you throw 1 plasma grenade under the player, stick 1 plasma grenade to their foot or leg, and then fire a rocket under them. The way this works is the first plasma grenade, the one that you threw under the player, and the rocket will explode at the exact same time. This just so happens to be how the timing works out. It's very nice. And that will be your initial velocity. That'll be like your initial explosion that launches you upwards. Then, mid-ascent, the second plasma grenades, the ones that were stuck to your foot or leg, will explode. And this is like a booster stage. This allows you to be pretty precise and pretty specific in how you launch up, and works very well for launching players. So, with the Ghost Froom, because the Ghost Froom is about 100 meters above the top of the cliff, we need about 3 to 5 players in our PPR launch. We could definitely do it with 3, but I often had more than 3 because with 3 players you need a absolutely perfect launch, and it can be really difficult to get that, so it's nice to just have a little bit more power. The launch has to be synced very well, otherwise it won't be powerful enough, and you'll fall short, and you'll either die from the fall, or if you don't, well, you just wasted some ammunition. Kinda stinks. The launch can't be too powerful as well. If it's too powerful, because the ghost is close to the ceiling, you will hit the barrier, and hitting the barrier, as in like the ceiling above the cliff, you will bounce off of it at some odd angle because the ceiling tends to be sloped, so you kind of hit it and you bounce off at some random angle, and that's just a pain because it totally messes up your landing, any landing that you could hope for. So, yeah, you would miss the ghost if you bounce off the ceiling, so can't be too powerful, otherwise you bounce off the ceiling. Can't be too weak, otherwise you don't even get high enough. And because the ghost is so close to the ceiling, this gives you a very small range of how powerful your launch can be. And, as if that wasn't enough, the ghost is really small. I mean, you're essentially trying to land on the back half of the ghost, and because the seat connector is so skinny, you can't land on that. So you're essentially either landing on the seat or the half of the hull, half of the middle of the hull, and so it's just a ridiculous landing. As if that wasn't enough, the ghost is round and often at an angle in the sky, so even if you do land on it, you're very likely to slip and slide right off of it, which is really frustrating, as you might imagine. And as if that wasn't enough, the barrier is bumpy. It closes together as you get to the ceiling, so you might accidentally fly up into some little crevasse and not be able to get to the ghost. Goodness, how crazy is this? So where you make the Froom, as I said before, is very important, because if it's in a bad spot, it'll be hard to launch and hard to land because of that bumpy barrier. So it's absolutely ridiculous. But eventually, you can land it, though it can take a really long time. It can take days to stick to launch. Re-recording a particular launch on Infinity, it took me 3 days to get the recording. about 5 hours each day. That's just ridiculous. Anywho, that's the PPR launch. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about other Frooms. So with other Frooms, the procedure is pretty much the same. I mean, the Ghost Froom, it starts the same way on Infinity as it does here on Blood Gulch. You make a seat shark in the base, and then you push it forward so that the seat derenders, and then it becomes a full shroom actually on Infinity immediately. You push it down the base, you push it down the ramp, you take it to a cliff wall which has a gradual transition, you push it into it. However, on Infinity, you have much bigger cliffs, and they're steeper. So you have longer and more difficult shroom lifts. This is why Infinity took so long for me to figure out. It took me almost a year between my shroom lifts on Blood Gulch to actually succeeding at a shroom lift on Infinity. Because, they're more vertical, they're larger, and there's more transfers in them. So, transitions. So, pretty crazy. The other Blood Gulch barrier, on the other hand, is there's hardly a lift at all. You only lift it up a small section, and then you can push it right into the barrier. So that's a lot easier. However, the plasma warp is really annoying because you can't do it from inside the barrier. You have to do it from the ground below because of what it's like inside of the barrier. So yeah, doing the plasma warp from the ground below, the ghost is very far away, so it's really annoying. The Froom is also smaller, so yeah, it's hardly even a Froom, I'd say. It is, but it's just meh. But you can solo on top of the ghost inside that small barrier, so it's pretty cool. Anywho, this is the end of the explanation video for the Ghost Froom, and I hope you enjoyed it. It was informative, and that it answered some, if not all, of your questions. I hope now that you understand why the Ghost Froom is so difficult, and why I personally consider it to be one of the greatest tricks ever accomplished. And yeah, it was cool. Yeah, peace out and stunt on. Mator out.